Some of you may have found it difficult to understand the difference between coupon rate and yield to maturity. If so, please view this video for a simpler explanation where I have used an example that most of you would relate to. Let us say a friend of yours has put a part of his savings of 100,000 currency units in a bank as a time deposit or a fixed deposit, as it is known in some countries, that pays him interest at 8% per annum and a maturity period of 3 years. The bank's rules will not allow your friend to close the time deposit before maturity. In other words, the time deposit has to run its contracted life of 3 years. Let us also assume that the above time deposit is a bearer instrument, which means that whoever is the owner or the holder of the time deposit will be paid the due amount on every event date. That is, the interest at the end of each year at the contracted rate and the principal amount of face value on the maturity date. Accordingly, let's say your friend received interest of 8,000 currency units at the contracted rate of 8% from the bank at the end of the first year. Immediately thereafter, that is at the start of the second year, let's say your friend badly needs to liquidate the time deposit and realize 100,000 currency units in cash to cope with a domestic exigency. Do recall the time deposit has 2 more years to go for maturity, and as per rules, the bank will not allow him to prematurely close the deposit. So how does your friend raise the money he needs right now? He could look at 2 options. One, he could seek a loan from the bank using the time deposit as a collateral. However, your friend does not like the idea of taking a loan. Option 2, he could sell the time deposit and raise the cash he needs. Recall what we said earlier, this time deposit is a bearer instrument and hence can be traded. That means it can be sold and someone else can buy it. Let us say your friend decides on the second option and approaches you with a request to buy the time deposit from him for the balance period of 2 years. If you do have the funds ready, you could oblige your friend and consequently become the owner or the holder of the time deposit for the remaining 2 years up to maturity. Question is, how much would you be willing to pay your friend to buy the time deposit from him? Would you pay 100,000 currency units or more or less? Here's the answer. Let us say while negotiating with your friend, you hear that the bank is now offering 2-year time deposits at a revised interest rate of 9%. Remember earlier they were offering time deposits at 8%. Hence, if you decide to put your 100,000 currency units in that bank as a time deposit now for a period of 2 years, at 9% interest per annum, you will receive 2 interest payments from the bank of 9,000 currency units at the end of the 2 years and the principal amount of 100,000 currency units on maturity. Instead, if you bought the time deposit from your friend, which carries, remember, only 8% interest per annum, as the new holder of the old time deposit, you will receive 2 interest payments from the bank of 8,000 currency units at the end of the first year, 8,000 currency units at the end of the second year, and 100,000 currency units at the end of second year on maturity. Since your return will be lower by 1,000 currency units every year, that is 9,000 minus 8,000, if you buy the time deposit from your friend, you will tell him that you will take up his offer only if he would sell the time deposit to you at a discount, that is less than 100,000 currency units. The obvious question is, how much less? In bond pricing parlance, the 8%, that's the interest being paid on the fixed deposit, is the coupon rate, and the 9%, which is the interest rate on fixed deposits prevailing now, is the yield to maturity. Accordingly, the price you should pay your friend to buy his time deposit using the bond pricing formula based on the time value of money that you have learnt earlier will be 100,000 into 8% divided by 1 plus 9% to the power of 1, which is the present value of the interest cash flow at the end of the first year, plus 100,000 into 8% divided by 1 plus 9% to the power of 2, which is the present value of the interest payment at the end of the second year, plus 100,000 divided by 1 plus 9% to the power of 2, which is the present value of the maturing amount 2 years from now. The present value so computed works out to 98,240.89 currency units. At that lower price, you would be indifferent to whether you buy the time deposit from your friend for 98,240.89 and receive only 8% for 2 years, or invest in the time deposit at 100,000 currency units with the bank at 9%. Remember, both the deposits have a maturity period of 2 years. Since the current interest rate offered by the bank is 9%, which is what we call the yield to maturity or YTM, and the time deposit you bought from your friend offers an interest rate of only 8%, which in bond parlance is the coupon, we say the time deposit is selling at a discount. That means at a price lower than its face value of 100,000 currency units. Let's extend this argument a little further. Let's say you hold the time deposit for 1 more year, receive the interest or the coupon payment of 8,000, and then decide to sell it immediately thereafter. Say in 1 year, interest rates offered by the bank has moved down from 9% to 8.5%. If you decide to sell the time deposit now, you should therefore receive 100,000 into 8% divided by 1 plus 8.5% to the power of 1, which is the present value of the interest cash flow for the remaining 1 year, plus 100,000 divided by 1 plus 8.5% to the power of 1, which is the present value of the principal amount that will be paid back to you at the end of 1 year. Now this works out to 99,539.17 currency units. So 8% is the coupon rate and YTM is 8.5%. You therefore have a trading profit of 99,539.17 minus 98,240.89, which is equal to 1,298.28, because you bought the time deposit from your friend with a residual maturity of 2 years at 98,240.89 when the YTM was 9%, and sold it when the YTM moved to 8.5%, and you got a price of 99,539.17 at the end of year 2. Your effective return, therefore, by holding the time deposit for 1 year is 8,000, which is the interest for 1 year, plus 1298.28, which is a trading profit you made, divided by 98,240.89, which is the price at which you bought this fixed deposit. So your effective return is 9.46%. In summary, therefore, coupon rate is decided at the time the time deposit or the bond was issued and remains constant until maturity. whereas YTM changes from time to time based on the interest rate commanded at that point in time by the issuer, in this case the bank. Why and how interest rates change over time is explained in the first two videos of week 2, loanable funds theory, Fisher equation, etc. I would urge you to go back and view those videos again if you so desire. Hope that example has helped you understand the difference between coupon rate and yield to maturity. If you have doubts, do post your queries on the discussion board and we would be happy to respond. Thank you.